Okay, Puff Rish Hay. Number down. That's where I think we're at. So the subject here, right, is Chashka Nukva. In a sequence that causes the Nukva, and we have different kinds of definition. What the Nukva could be, it's a female aspect. It could be Bina. It could be Malchus. So now we're getting different views. He says, Ray Bor Yakar, he said, B'Sham Shabir Lefi Darko, Shabiru Shal Shlish Hanal, Vizel Shono. I'm getting into this here. And he says, so when we're talking about, now we're talking about Yisod. What Yisod? I don't know. Besod, Vav Yud, Hey Vav Yud, Aleph Vav Yud. I know he said that formula. I don't remember it now. Do you? I don't remember it. And I didn't go back to try to find it. It's not far away. But anyway, there's a sequence here that has to do with the separation of the Yisod from the Nukva. Yirtz is Chashka Nukva. So then what happens is that it causes darkness in the Nukva. Shehi Hamalchus B'choshech Achitzonim B'chadinim Akashim Sholtim. Sholtim. Let's see. Now, Yud Zion actually has a little note on it. Let's read through this. We'll come back to Yud Zion and also Yud Ches. So he said, Ubazar Chochi Mefarish Her Yihya Tikun Roach Azos Hamahalhibus Hadinim, which I guess it means the Lashon kindles. The dinim, what is it? Amar Ki Ein Tikun Ha'inyan Bepas Hamalchus V'lo Bepas Yisod. The Tikun doesn't come from those two places. Elat Sarak La'alos Lamala, but instead it's necessary to go up higher, liyachad habina b'chochma, because this is what actually causes the light. The zechav v'shambav is the hebrews ima that causes ima to become illuminated. Mitzad hachma, coming from the side of chachma. Kedei lahanik, why? What does she need to do this for? V'hanik abonim a helva, her milk. Shehi mikabelas melamala kanoida, that she receives from up above. So that's the connection. That's really where you need to get things started. How do you bring it back? So let's see what he says. That was, first of all, it started out with number Yud Zion. So let's see if I can see this. Okay, let's say for Ray Be'or Yakar, let's say the Halon Shan. Shahosi Devar Mizel Vizel Lashon. That's what he said. V'lekulhu Pirusha is Chashka Nokva. Every time we say this, in Yadach Choshech V'din, that's really what it means. Ashech Lemidos, that comes. I'm not sure what it means. Lemidos. Now, midos we saw means something else. Midos really refers to Leah. I'm not sure what that means. So he says Choshech V'din Asher Lemidos. Bein the cave of the which is Ima, bein the Chevet Tachone, which is Malchus. Now let's get some explanation. Hopefully, I'm not getting this right. Let me get this down here. It can be seen. Okay, so he says. So we're still over here. Okay, and so if ki hachoshech hanimshach belong. Whom tzad shehi nekeva, because of her femininity. Why? What does that mean? Because nekeva din v'choshech nimshach b'mena, because that's the nature of the nekeva. The nekeva is loaded with dinim. But the zechav ein choshech v'bindach v'choshech hamalchus. So therefore, let's look at it. That the dinim of bina are going to be different from the dinim of malchus. Shepnei habina so he said, what is it? Shepnei habina, that the face of bina. Shenakvuha. Now I'm not sure what that makes her. I don't know her femininity. I'm not sure what nakvuha is make an emptiness there. Heim hagvuros shebekal hasfira. So let's see what his words are. Shepnei habina shenakvuha heim hagvuros shebekal hasfiros. But her darkness is not all that great. Amnam Pnei HaMalchut, but if you look at the face of Malchus, and why he used the word Pnei, I don't know. But if you look at Malchus, he says, Shenigvuha, her, I think Nigvuha means her femininity, Haim Sod Kain Vehevel. There you get something which is really outside Achitzonim, which are Achitzonius. Which are born where? Out of Malchus. So there you have V'choshech Achitzonim. Choshech Meruva is a tremendous amount of darkness because of the exposure to the Chitzonim. Excuse me. Because me Sheyakava b'shem the Keva is Chashka min hatam shebarashno. And I think the word is, I said it wrong. Anything that's called by the name Nekeva, which is Lashon whole or empty, is Chashka min hatam shebarashno, is really dark because of its exposure to the other side. Now, number Yud Ches, we had that also. That went on this phrase. It says, "It's nehira ima mitzad hachma k'dei lahanek habonim halacha chelba shehi mekabela melamalak anoida." So he said, number Yud Ches. It says Rei Bezoar. He said Vazel Lashono. This is what it says over there. Make sure we're going right. Okay, we're going okay. The kad gevura mispashta, when zvura starts to spread, v'ainin milahatin. So he says, and now I don't know what ainin means. So the eyes here become inflamed, begavan sumko, with the color of red. Now let's see what he says. He said the kad gevura mispashetis. Now what ainin has to do with it, I'm not sure. So. Okay, we're waiting for Rebbe to come back, and for a moment we have to thank Hashem and try to get into this Inya a little bit better. Okay, we're back. So he says that the eyes, v'ainin melahatim begavan sumka. So her eyes, the eyes, he says v'ainin, the eyes, I guess, and eyes become inflamed with redness. It's just really. Nahir Atika Kadisha Hivara delay. So he said then, at this point, start shining Atika Kadisha, which is Eric Anpin, its whiteness. Velahata Ba'ima, and it winds up, I guess, in becoming kindled in Ima. Vis Malyach Mechalba, and as when that happens, she becomes full of milk. Now, let's go over this way just said. He said the sequence is that when the nukva is full of gevura mispeshetis, when gevura spreads out, the eyes of, I'm assuming he means of Ima, are now full of redness. Nahir Atika Kadisha, and Eric Anpin shines its gevura delay, its whiteness. Velahata, and it kindles itself in Ima. Vismalia Mechalba, and she becomes full of milk, the young kolahani, and then she's able to feed or to nurse these others, which are Zocher v'Nuk. I guess he means we're talking about Pina. So what the eyes have to do with, I don't know. So he says, and then they bathe the eyes then bathe, Bahahu Chelba the Ima, now with that milk that has now been reproduced. He's saying that as a result of the Gevuras and Ima and the Shefa that comes, the Hivarta that comes out of Eric Anpin, it causes it makes milk. In other words, we may have seen this before, that the Gevuras turn into milk. This Nage v'Navik Tader, and then it starts flowing out. It never stops. This is the meaning of this very that it should bathe in milk. B'chalav de Ima. What milk are we talking about? The milk of Ima. The nagid dira v'lupsik adkan. So a lot of these things, they provide information. It's hard to really understand exactly what all the parts are. Like, what do the eyes have to do with this? I'm not sure exactly, but he said it. So it was in there. So let's go on to number Yud Tes, and let's look at the Pirush of the Maurice Saruk. So he said, Bir kan lefidarko. So he explains according to his regular way, the Eirich Petipas Zer Venuk. And it's talking here, when talking about what's the subject, is Chashka Nukva, that the Nukva becomes darkened. He said, the Eirich Petipas Zer Venuk, it's talking about the tipa of the male and the female that are gestating, Hanek Sheris, he said, that are tied together, and with this Laveshes, Benetzachod Shel Yisod Abba. Got over this, it's a different derech, so let's see what he said again. He says, Bir kan lefi darko, okay, that's no problem. The Eirich of Betipa is zer v'nuk. So the tipa is inside what? It's inside the, of Bina. Hanek which become congealed, mis bashelis, and what's it, matured, ripened. Benetza chod shall yisod Abba. So let's look at the yisod of Abba, and where does this idea come from? The yisod of Abba, he says that the tipa, which becomes matured, or I guess is ripened, in the Yisod of Abba. Which part of the Yisod? In the Netzach and Hod of the Yisod of Abba. He holds the Tipa. V'achar kach choseres v'ola l'mala l'fum ama. So once again we have the concept of the tip of the Yisod being on the top, not on the bottom. V'ola l'mala l'fum ama, and it goes upwards into the tip, or the mouth, of the male part. So now we have this explanation, and this is what he said, B'kan Pirush Rav of the Arizal, and we're going to get something on that. He says, Beis Pirushim, he has two different Pirushim on this, and he says the Pirushim are, let me get this over here we go. Is Chashka Nechayrech, so is Chashka Nechayrech, so we're talking about that light becoming dark. Harisha, the first explanation, Gavar Yudat, you call his kashrus. Every time we say that his kashrah, he's a din. That's a lashon din. When you pull things, you're squeezing things together. Hachzara, I can actually say hachzara. Also, lifnei ima. So now, what is this hachzara? It's returning lefum ama, the back. Excuse me, to the opening of it. It is din. He said v'gam. Hachasarasa lupum ama, it goes back into the ama, it's also lashon din. I'm not sure what that meant. Nimsa shachatipa chazucha b'yesh ba shnei dinim, it has two different kinds of dinim. Echad min his kashra, ve'echad min the chazara. Now, what's the chazara got to do with this? He's talking about going back into the ama. Was it come out and it goes back in? The Yosha Nukvach the Zer Anpin, he kitriga, or I think that's how pronounced it, is mata. Shehudin. The first thing is that she becomes limited. She becomes squeezed down. V'nismata shehudin, it becomes smaller as a result of that, and that is making something smaller. Of course, is the whole deal with din. And now you're asking onto her these two dinim besides that. Shekavar Amarna Lamala that we already said up above. Sha'acha hakitrug. Tipa, she goes back and she becomes like the secret of what? Of a dot. I guess of a drop. Tipa is a drop. Is chashka. Because of all of these dinim, you're just piling in dinim in there. This causes her to become dark. Now, let's just move on a little bit more in the Pirush, and let's see what we could do to find it. Let me sort of get it here. Okay. Let me see if we can get this down. Number Yud Tes is where we're at. So number Yud Tes says like this. He says, L'chayrecha v'kuvana v'charizal. Ki b'techidas ksiv yado, ksiv yad zet, shenichtav ayedech Rebbe Ezra Mepano. So apparently this is one of the original people learning with, I guess, the Ari. He says, Nizka Shemoshal Rebbe Yishmael Saruk. So also in that Pirush over there, he mentions Rebbe Yisrael Saruk Benero, Bebirchas Hachayim. Now, what does that mean? I'm not sure. Being came Masha Hizkir Khan, so therefore what he's mentioning here, or rather the Rav's mentioning here, Al Bashal, Mashbashu Harizal. Rabbi Shal Rebbe Yisrael Saruk. So he just wanted to say that we're coming to this from the Ari. as the Ari is. So we're waiting. Rebbe's coming back. And Hashem should help us to understand this better. Here he comes back. Okay, I just wanted to get into some of this a little bit because in number Kaf Base and number Kaf Gimel, he's answering questions for me, and I don't know if we'll get there today. So here we are on number Kaf. Let me see if I could find number Kaf. Here it is. Number Kaf. So number Kaf says, Rei b'divrei Marie Saruk, La'el be'inyan Yehi ma'oras chazach v'zel l'shona. That's it. So Kodesh Baruch Hu says to her. So in other words, we're getting a quote here, and it's a little bit broke up. We have that over the go and make yourself small. Go back and go into and return to your state, which is which is a dot. V'haklal besod tipa. So the general idea is contained in the secret of the drop. Im zer anpin v'tehiyat feilalo. If it's going to be the drop, I guess means that the drop is going to come from zer anpin, v'tehiyat feilalo, and then as a result of that, she will be subjugated by him or secondary to him. Shuhu zer anpin. Yihya shalit alayach. So that's kind of a quote to be in control over you. That's the sign that we had the sign before the word ma'oros, which means lights, but it's missing a letter. So without the letter, it really doesn't. It's chaser. So that's the concept of the note. Shu lashon ma'era, which changes ma'oros, which is lights, into a curse. In other words, darkness. Ad kan. So we're going to see later on as we get into this. V'chein bir Marie Saruk also says over there la'el be'inyan nehir yud betrin, so that the yud shines into two. What's that all about? Kashehi besod nakuda. That's talking about when she's in the secret of just being a dot. Now he's going to start explaining the dot better, I think, and we'll get to another time probably. Kashehi besod nakuda. So now that she made the accusation, now let's go back here. Wait a minute. How did this get into this? She has returned down to be a dot. So zer anpin. This is talking about here. He says that zer anpin in his female aspect. They go back. And they return, that's their movement backwards, which he said is a din, into the yesod of Erik Anpin. And instead of there, they come back and they become a drop. Ad kan, muva the ale. So I'm not sure that I really understood exactly what he meant here. What do we have in this idea? He says, because of the accusation of the nukva, he calls it an accusation. He says he says she's forced to go down to become smaller. So she has to go back and be a nakuda again. Now that nakuda goes down into bia. Klal besod tipa. So v'tikalel besod tipa. And when this happens, then she becomes incorporated in the concept of a drop. What that drop that we're talking about that has all the power in it. Im zer anpin, she's a drop together with zer anpin v'tihiyah tefeilalo, and she'll be subjugated by him. Shehu zer anpin yihiyah shalad alecha. So alayach. So that's no big deal right there. So we understand that lezecha kasev ma'aras chasivav shehu lashon me'era adkan. So she loses her light. So he has that v'chein bir Marie Saruk. What's explained? Le'el be'inyan nohir yud betrin. So the yud shines into trin. I guess that was a quote over there. V'zel l'shono. Because shehi besod nakuda, when she's in the position of just being a dot, kamo at like now, la'acha shektargo, that she's made this accusation, shechazara v'zera v'nuk v'niknas b'zoch yisod Erik Anpin, and that's the part that she becomes a dot. She's a dot, and now she's joined together with Zer Anpin, and they go into the Yesod of Eric Anpin. So that's a part I really don't get. V'sham na'asach b'sod tipa, but they go backwards, and they become into the secret of a male female tipa. Ad kan. We're out of time. We're out of time. There's more interesting things here, but we have to mine them out. We're exploring the outer reaches of understanding. This is Baruch Flashman.